Welcome to Owner's Insight, episode 2. We're here with the inimitable Nathan Najib Real Estate. Welcome.
Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, Marcus.
I'm excited about this one because for two reasons. One, you're a curious cat with some big ideas and big ambitions. And two, because you've got a pretty unique story and you're in an industry that is ripe for change and doing big things. So excited about this one and delving deep into the way you think. So let's start off with the real obvious thing, which is Najib. Najib is clearly not a Kiwi name. And I know a little bit of your story, so why don't you tell us how you got here, how you arrived and ended up in New Zealand, and
At age of 7 or 8, the civil war broke up in Afghanistan, and we escaped Afghanistan. Went up north.
Where were you in Afghanistan at this point?
I'm born in Kabul, which is the capital.
Yeah.
And so the war broke out. We went up north of Afghanistan, and spent a little bit of time there because my father or my uncle's friend had a place there, so we went and stayed there because it was quieter there. And as it got quiet, after a few months, we came back to Kabul, I should say, and then war broke out again. In the middle of the night, we escaped to somebody else's house, and the next day, with hardly anything, we got on the bus and travelled through Khyber Pass to Pakistan.
Which is Khyber Pass is dangerous at the best of times, right?
Yeah. The whole thing is dangerous, but Khyber Pass, you're right, it's quite a narrow road, and so.
And was there fighting along that journey, or was that in the city?
So the fighting was in the city, and we just travelled. It was in the middle of the night, and I don't remember it vividly because being a 7-year-old, but I can remember snippets of it, and then spend 4, maybe 5 years in Afghanistan, and I was came to New Zealand when I was 10 or 11 years old. So it's been an amazing journey.
So Afghanistan and where did you stop on the way?
So when Afghanistan to Pakistan.
To Pakistan, I thought you said that.
Yeah, and from Pakistan.
So 4 months in Pakistan?
No, 4 years in Pakistan.
Oh, 4 years in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So 7 till 11.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was good because as a little kid, you enjoy the journey, right? You're in the prison, right? It was my parents that were worried about how to protect us, how to take care of us, and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of similar, not much different between Pakistan and Afghanistan because they even speak the same language. So it's kind of going from here to Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember reading after the Tampa.
That's right.
No, I forget his name.
Abbas,
yeah.
Lovely guy.
And he had well, not the same journey, obviously. They came over by boat, but he stopped in Pakistan as well.
Correct, yeah. So everybody would escape from Afghanistan to Pakistan. Just a border.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so 11 years old coming to New Zealand, what was that like?
It was cool, man. It was a totally different experience, of course, and everything was so flash. The roads were so clean, as opposed to coming from Afghanistan or Pakistan. And there was no war, so brilliant.
Would have been a big shift, I imagine.
It's like a heaven on earth.
Yeah. And so you arrived here at 11 years old at pretty pivotal time in a person's life. What was that like entering the beginning of the teen years in a foreign country? Did you speak English at this point?
Just broken English.
Broken English.
I did, and my sisters and my brother, we did English studies because there used to be English courses like A, B, C, D, and you know a few words. So I could speak a little bit.
Just enough.
I could converse. Yeah.
Yeah. And so entering school, what was that like?
For me, like people would say, like, you know, really a 10-year-old, when you come that young, it's easy to fit in. So for me, it was never a problem.
Yeah.
I fit in quite nicely. I had.
Were you sort of the new kid on the block? Was there a bit of fascination around this Afghani?
Yeah, it probably was. And people were fascinated, like, because when in late 1990s when we came here, it was people not heard of Afghanistan. Not many people knew about Afghanistan. So everybody was fascinated. They want to know. They want to know, where did you come from? Like, you know, where is Afghanistan? So it was a good conversation starter.
Yeah, I imagine so. And so through high school, what was the direction at high school? What was the desire that started emerging at that point when you started thinking about what you wanted to do when you grew up?
What my parents wanted me to do, what I wanted to do.
Two different things.
Totally two different things.
Sure.
I wanted so let's say what my parents. My father has got PhD in civil engineering, very educated man. My mother is a kindergarten teacher, so very educated. Books got smart families, so they wanted me obviously to follow in their footsteps, which makes sense because when you go back to Afghanistan in the 70s or 80s, that's the only way to do okay, to do well,
get educated.
To get educated and get yourself a decent job. They didn't know, to their credit, that there's any other way to do well in life as well. So at first year high school, around that time, I was still interested. I was a good kid until then. So at school, I was good with books and stuff as well. But then, after the first year of high school, then I've kind of changed my thing. Went totally opposite of what my parents wanted me to do, which I hope my parents are happy for me that I've done that now.
I'm sure they're very proud of you now. So what was their direction for you, and what did you start gravitating toward?
Yeah, for my family would have been just like my other siblings. That go to university, get yourself a job, have family and kids, and have a nice and in their eyes, nice and quiet life, right? Well, that certainly wasn't what I wanted. I was the kid that was always upbeat, the kid that was always wanted to do stuff. Even when I was a kid in Pakistan, because we had cousins living, we had this house, and we used to have share rooms with the cousins and everybody. There was 3 families in this house, by the way. So I used to go buy stuff with my parents' money from the supermarket with the changeover, because if they said you could go and bring something, I'll go with the change. I'll buy some stuff and bring it home and send it to the neighbors, sell it to the neighbors' kids, all my cousins with a profit, and I'll keep the profit and give the...
I love this. So
I had I suppose my mind was wired differently.
So at that point, you were dealing... I'm assuming it was candy and stuff like that.
It was candy and stuff, yeah.
Good. I just wanted to check that.
Sure, it was candy.
Sure. So even as a teen, that entrepreneurial spirit was present.
I think so. When I'm thinking about it now, it certainly was like, having that sales mentality of what there is I can do with the money to make a profit. And yeah, it's interesting not looking back now.
It's funny when you're a kid, isn't it? I remember having those conversations with my friends around stuff like that, and you would always pay more for stuff because of the convenience factor. Someone had that lolly right there and then, and you'd be like, yeah, I'll give you some marbles or some money or whatever for that. Interesting. And so you're leaving school and moving into a career. How did you end up in real estate?
Yeah. So my parents wanted me to go to university, obviously, to get a degree, and I wanted to become a professional boxer because I got into boxing when I was 12, 13, and I did okay. It was not a bad fighter, and I thought I could become a world champ, as every young kid does. And then we found out when we go, we train here, we do pretty well in New Zealand, and we go to Australia, we actually get a beating. So I didn't think I was gonna make it to the world title at that stage. So I was looking for jobs and what to do. And it's an interesting story. I just fall into real estate. And at school, because I got surrounded by the wrong crowd, I used to get in trouble, a lot of trouble. And in this certain day, what happened was I was coming from school, I think it was. I was going up to put my bag down before I come out, and I saw a bunch of cars parked outside, and they're looking for me. And so I saw my father at the end of the driveway. I said, I couldn't go inside the house because my father's going to butcher me. So I ran back. I came back outside, and these guys just started chasing me. I jumped in my car, and they started chasing me down the road in a roundabout. So I go through a roundabout. They go through the other side of the roundabout. There was about 10 cars of them.
Wow.
And so they caught up to me. And being a boxer, I could defend myself, right? So I'll fight with these guys, and then somebody must have watched me. Stuart Rosewell, if he's there, shout out to him. Lovely guy. I still talk to him, by the way, Stu. Stu came up to my rescue. He called the police and got me out of the air. And these guys were trying to steal my car. So the guy that was grabbing my car, I grabbed him, pulled him out, hit him with a shot, dropped him. And so I grabbed my car and get my keys back. So they can't steal my car now, right? And then Stu came in to help me out, and these guys ran away. And then Stu was a real estate agent, Stuart Rosewell. He said, "You'll be a good real estate agent." And I said, "Why?" He said, "You're a fighter." And then I went to his office, and they told me I couldn't get a job. I went someplace else, and they told me I couldn't get a job. And then lucky enough, I went someplace, and they said, we'll give you a go. The rest is history.
Give it a crack.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that you had that entrepreneurial spirit from a young age, but also that resilience was instilled in you, I imagine not just from the boxing, but also from your origin story, growing up in a war-torn country and then moving into another environment. Obviously that shift and that requires some grit, some hustle, some grind, and those two things were present there, and I imagine that's what Stuart saw in you in that moment.
I agree, and I think people say it must be hard, and I say it was the best thing ever. I'm so if I didn't go through what I've been through, I wouldn't be half the person that I am. And it's nice to see now. I was talking to somebody today that applied for a job at our office. She's a migrant, and she was saying it's so good that you inspire I feel very, very blessed to be able to do that. When I got into real estate, there was nobody with a tan skin.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to see now. You see a lot of people in real estate who are immigrant, migrated here from other countries, and so I'm so pleased to see that, and people actually telling me that, like, you're inspiring us. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think Christchurch historically is a very New Zealand European city, statistically speaking, and New Zealand so similarly as well, but Christchurch in particular. And I think at that time, I remember some of the people that I was hanging out and the kids that were in my schools at that time, around a similar time, and there certainly wouldn't have been too many Afghanis, and yeah, you are inspiring them, and I think it's cool that you can share your story, because it is inspiring, not just for those people, but I personally find it inspiring too. It's the triumph of the human spirit, and it's exciting to see what you can do with the right attitude and that grit and grind matched with pure intentions. Or
I agree that combination is like indispensable. I think having greatness, of course, is important. But whatever like, the only limitation we have is our minds. Like, and I told anybody that's prepared to listen to me, you can do anything if you can put your mind to it.
Yeah. So you got your start with someone taking a chance on you, and you got underway. And what led you to deciding to start your own business?
That's a really good question. I think an entrepreneurship is something that you see that lack of, or is not done the right way, and you come up to rescue and make that better. So if you don't need to go far, you can ask anybody and say, how do you feel about real estate industry? We are not respected. People don't like us. They use us now, they work with us now, but you give us 10 years time, 10 more years, we will be disrupted if we don't change the way we do things. So the reason we started Najib was we said, where I was, people were not looked after. It was all about the businesses, like, how can we make more money? And it was usually, how can I make money as the business owner? And I had the opportunity to buy into the business, and I said, I just can't do it, because like, how much zeros do you need in the bank account? Right? It's just, after a little while, you just pick up more zeros, right? You can either get addicted to more zeros, or you can make a difference. So I decided, I think I need to change this thing. And so for the last 7 years, 6.5 years, we've been at it, and it's been received very well by the public, and it's actually some really good people are actually reaching out to me and saying, hey, can I get a job with you? Because people reaching out with the people with good intentions, like you said, right? So it wasn't about the money at all. I'd done pretty well where I was. So it was about just changing this industry, because this industry is giving me everything that I have. I suppose it's time to give back.
I'm curious about that, because I imagine there's some people listening or watching and thinking, yeah, but isn't that why we're in business, to make money? And I'm curious, given that opportunity to buy in and make more money, as an owner, what was it that created that tension, that that you just felt compelled to act on and go and start your own venture?
Like, I totally agree. We need money. Money is like fuel. Like, you need fuel to go from one place to another place. I appreciate that. We need that as a business. Every business needs it. But the truth is, if you start a business with more than just making money, because I tell people, I'm like, I say, like, when you all you're after is making money, then you'll make money. Because you'll make money, like, if you're after it, you'll make it, right? And you'll make it, and then you'll get sick of it. That's where comes the depression and the anxiety. That's why a lot of very successful people commit suicide, right? That's why those things come. But if your goal is more than just making money, and the money is the byproduct because you're serving, adding value, this whole thing goes to the whole next level. So number one is, for me, if you were to start a business, if I'm looking at any business, if you think about business, like, put money aside, start something that's going to serve, make the world a better place, or add value to people's lives, because the money will be byproduct. But if you do that, the motivation is going to be so high that you can wake up in crazy hours at night all day and work. When times are hard, I'm not saying if times are hard, because when you're running a business, it's when the times are hard, because times do get hard when you're running a business, right? That you'll be motivated to get pulled out, and because the motivation is not just making money. Because if the motivation is just making money, then you just leave and escape and just stop. Where if motivation is more than just making money, number one, the byproduct is because you're adding value, you're going to make a whole lot more money. But number two is, when you start a business, it's a hard time, because I remember, if I go back six years ago, I was worried about paying my staff, my team's wages, my assistant. It was only my assistant at the time. I was actually worried about that. But if it was just the money, I would have handed the gloves up and gone back to my sales job.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like that desire. I love that quote many years ago that I learned from a lecturer at university, Peter Cammett. He said that our purpose is found where our great passion meets the world's great need.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And
Pablo Picasso, I put a quote up the other day. He said, find your purpose. No, your purpose in life to find your purpose, I think, and then the meaning of life is to give it away. Something along those lines. I said, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that everybody here, anybody, and I tell that to my team that I think everybody's there to do something special. I don't think we're not born to just go home, work, sleep, eat, and make babies. We aren't. I think we need to do more than that. I was at a friend's farm over the weekend in Ashburton, and they've got cows. They've got 800 cows. So that cows are there for a purpose, right? They eat grass and they milk, and the milk comes. They milk us, or they feed us, right? Mm-hmm. I think we all created for a reason. So just find your purpose. I think.
So tell me about what the Najib's purpose was then and is now. Has that changed? Has that evolved?
I've always wanted to make this industry a better place. A better place, by that what I mean is, like, people that come into our office, people that work alongside us, they're happy, they taken care of, and then they train so well so they can go and serve the clients. The clients obviously happily pay us because they're taken care of. They're not just a number anymore. We give back to the community, so we help the community, as we've been doing for the last 6 and 7 years, quite proud of. And change this whole industry so people feel that they can trust the real estate agent. That would be when I'm dead, in my tombstone, they say that this man here helped the real estate agents become trustworthy, then I'm a happy man.
Yeah, you guys get a bad rap. As I understand it, one of the lowest NPS scores of any professional service around.
It disappoints me. I think there are some very, very nice people, but when you put nice people in a crowd of people that are all interested in making money and just putting deals together, then unfortunately they become one of them as well.
Yeah. So obviously you're a very skilled salesperson in your own right, and built up your own successful brand in the sense of just you. Now you've got other agents on board, but how did you grow as a salesperson? What was that like for you, learning that skill of selling, of negotiating, of prospecting?
It was very hard for me because there was, at the time, there was no mentorship, there was no training. So just so you know, just the audience know, a real estate agent back then did 2 weeks course, and then okay, you're good to sell now.
2 weeks and then boom, you're into it.
Yeah, you're into it, selling houses, right? People's most expensive asset. So to become an agent who just started in 2 weeks and become an absolutely amazing negotiator, it's a huge jump.
Yeah.
So for me, like, being a learner, the 2 week course wasn't enough for me. At that time, because the place that I used to work for, there was no mentorship. People everybody was just putting deals together, getting houses sold, like unfortunately still the way it is in most offices. I actually had to go overseas. After a little while, of course, I had to go overseas. For the first 4 years, I had no idea I could go and learn more. But being a guy who was resourceful, I started reaching out and studying the people overseas. Like, what did they do? How did they do? Like, and then lucky enough, I was probably in the business about 6 or 7 years. I went to a conference called ARIC, Australian Real Estate Conference. If your audience hasn't been to it, it's not just a real estate conference, it's just a whole sales conference. They should attend that, because that conference changed my life, because I meet the right people, connected with the right people, and so I improved my skills. And now what I do, I'm giving those skills, because what do you do with the skills, right? What do? You can't take it with you, right? So what I'm trying to do, for me, that's part of my mission to change the real estate industry. Is I want to educate agents, not just my own agents that work alongside us, but also agents outside of our organization. Because I don't want them to go through what I went through.
Yeah. Is that saying, John DeMartini, your voids create your values? The things you lack, you want to go out and give away to other people.
True, that's my life story, yeah.
Yeah. And it just reminded me of that. And so you, of your own accord, invested in those skills. You researched. We went beyond your local pitch and onto the global field, and went, who is the expert in this industry that I need to be talking to, and learnt from them. And then what was that like once you had acquired those skills, then coming back to Christchurch and applying them?
It was so nice to have people, because unfortunately Christchurch or New Zealand, it's a very scarcity mentality, right? It's like, I don't want to share with you, because if I share with you, it's like I'm stealing business from you. Well, the reality is there's plenty of business for everybody, right?
Yep.
So thankfully, when I went, and as I said, like, when you're around people like that, you think like that too. You can't help it but think like that, right? When I went to Australia, I heard a guy called John McGrath. He's a legend in Australian real estate. Everybody loves him over there. He's such an amazing guy. I'm very, very lucky to call him friend now. But I reached out to him, being such a lovely man. He actually said, "Well, come to Sydney and see me." And I was like, "Wow!" When I went and saw him, now he's got 100 offices all around New Zealand. At that time, all around Australia. But at the time, he might have had 50 offices or 60 offices. And I said, okay, well, this guy, he lives with the abundance mentality. And look what he's blessed with. Like, why can't I do it as an agent? So I was talking to John the other day, and I said, like, I can't repay you what you've done for me, but what I can do is pay it forward. And I think that's the best we can do when people are happy enough to share their knowledge with us.
That poverty or scarcity mindset versus the abundant mindset, that's a nice thought for a lot of people. I think when we discuss something like that, people, there's lots of nods and smiles and, yeah, wouldn't it be great if everyone had an abundance mindset? Talk to me a little bit about how that's actually practically worked out for you, and mentally how that frames the way you work.
Yeah, it makes, like, if you're looking at it from this little thing point of view, it makes sense because the whole system is designed to teach us the scarcity mindset. The scarcity mindset, like, for example, from the school age, I didn't go to school. If I had to go to school, I didn't listen to the teachers. So that works for in my advantage. But when you go from school, from the day one, they teach you that you've got to hide your exam from other people, right? You got to get the A because A is good for you, but B is for everybody else. So that mentality is actually ingrained in us from the very young age. And I think I'm not sure if, like, I think if our audience is not familiar with law of attraction, have a look into law of attraction. And law of attraction is like, what you give out, you receive. And if you got the mentality of, like, what, I'm going to give everything that I have, my knowledge, my money, my everything away. You got to be strategic about it. But when you live with a mentality like, there's plenty for everybody, it just, what goes around comes around. I feel, I think it's in the giving that we receive, and when we give, we feel good about ourselves, so we could do more. So it's just an effect that gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So growing beyond one and now to multiple agents and with a view to continue that growth for a long while yet, what's been the big shifts in your thinking around the transition to growing not just a successful one-man band that's making heaps of money and serving lots of people well, and into growing this brand that's bigger than just yourself?
I just like we said at the start, like, if your business is adding value to people's lives, then it's selfish for you to just holding on to have it to yourself. So we've created a platform here at Najib that we train our agents to become, as they call it, attraction agent, and building a reputation that people come to them rather than them chasing business. And I feel like there's, in our industry, that lack of direction, like when I started 16 years ago, it's still the same. So I feel it's my obligation or my responsibility to change it. I think that's what I was born to do.
That's great. And so when you think about and reflect on that last wee part of the journey where you've expanded the team and grown, what are some of the things the ways that you've had to adjust your thinking in now being a leader as opposed to the technician?
Yeah. We have conversation about the identity. If you see yourself as a $200,000 earner, that's what you're gonna do. It's just like a temperature. Like it will set itself up to that, and then it'll turn off. Same as if you're surrounded by people who don't that kind of income, you'll get to that and then you'll stop. So for me, moving from changing my identity from being a salesperson or being a great salesperson, being a coach, obviously there's adjustment to do. Your behavior's got to change. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we've been doing that very nicely in the last few months, because now I'm doing more coaching, more training, and everything that you would see around design. What I'm thinking about designing now is how we can help our agents create their own EBUs, if you will, EBUs, effective business units. So running business within Najib, running their own amazing business like I'd created in the past. So just a blueprint, if you will, pass that on to other agents.
Yep. That blueprint you mentioned that you created for yourself and you're now teaching others. What have you found? Because I think maybe it's not obvious for people, but to go from zero to $1 million plus as an agent is a pretty massive achievement. Mm-hmm. What was that built on in terms of your mentality and some of those habits that you just wake up doing every day?
Yeah. It was one of the things that I had is like every client that I work with, that was a thing that was just ingrained in me as a child, I suppose, because my father's a beautiful man. He's always taken care of people. He's always done things with integrity. So from the day I started in the business of real estate, I said I'm going to take care of every single person. And that just multiplies. Even though I didn't know back then that now we talk about specializing in an area. If I knew that back then, I would have done what I'd done in what I did in 10 years, well, I would have done it in 2 years. Because, you know, you can either create your own blueprint, your own road, or you can just follow somebody else's, right? Yeah. And I think it's a smarter way to do it, because you can write your own book, or you can just get somebody else's book and just edit it and make changes in it that suits you. So we've created a blueprint that people can just come in and do. Just slot in there and do what I did in 10 years, do it in 2 years. Mm.
So reflecting on this jump again, what are some of the challenges that you've noticed in growing beyond a team of a few to now a team of, how many's in the team now? 10-ish?
Yeah, we've just hired 3 other people, so we have with 13. I suggest by end of November.
Amazing. Yeah, great. So, what are some of the things you've learned in the growth phase, going beyond Nathan Najib and his assistant in the early days, and now having the team that you have?
Yeah, it's like you've got, as a salesperson, these obviously you got totally different behaviors to behaviors of a leader. So I had to make huge changes. Even now, I kind of go back to my old habits. I'm sort of no, you're right. You're as you know, I still sell. So I'm like, now is the sales time of thing, and now it's like being a leader. Mm. So as a salesperson, you're more concentrate on, like, you know, what's the next listing coming from? When is the next sale coming from? Right?
How do you switch between those identities?
So what I have, I've got this time that I've got 9 to 11 o'clock. I'm on the phone to just me as a sales guy, me as a leader between 7:30 till 9 o'clock, 9 to 11 sales guy, and then from 12 onwards, we're doing more of recruitment, and so I'm changing the hats quite often because I'll do a appraisal. I'm the sales guy there. Or when I'm doing catching up with somebody who's gonna come and join us, I'm Nathan the leader. So it's hard, but it's doable. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a challenging phase.
Yeah,
Still needing to be the technician and also being the leader and the owner, entrepreneur. And I think one of those ways that you've done that and dividing up your calendar into this chunk is for technician time, as me as the salesperson, and this time is me as the leader is a really helpful way to do that.
Yeah.
A practical way that people can do that.
And I can't take credit for everything though, because number one, we've got amazing people in the team for sure. I've got people around me, the coaches, your dear friend, and they've been amazing for our business. Of course, I can pick up the phone, talk to John, and see how he does his things. So I'm as like all of us, we work in progress. But what I'm lucky to have, I've got right people in the right places. I can pick up the phone, talk to the coaches or the mentors or the friends that to help me out where I'm kind of getting stuck.
I want to touch on that for a second, because I think as Kiwis in particular, and you mentioned it earlier, where we have that a little bit of a scarcity mindset, but we also have that DIY. I'll do it myself. I'm a self-made man. I don't need anyone else. Yeah. And you're quite different in that, in the sense that you have a lot of people around you. Talk about Les, who you visit every week, and your coaches and mentors overseas and here locally. Why is that so important, do you think, for people to have?
As they say, if you want to go fast, go on your own, and if you're going to go far, you go with,
I love that.
With others, right? Have a group of people, and I don't want to go fast. I want to make sure I go far. So that's one of the reasons. And number two, I think you can only do so much when you're doing on your own, or when you're just you and the team. But when you've got somebody else coming from the outside as a mentor or a coach, they can give you ideas that's totally, you might have thought about it, you might have thought it was too difficult. Like I was talking to John the other day, right? He was saying, your 3 years goal, what do you want to do? I want to do ba. And he said, condense it, do it in 6 months. And then I came and passed that by you, me and you had a conversation about it, right? So to be able to do better and go faster, it's just like personal trainer. I got a PT that I see 3 times a week. I work out hard. I'm a boxer. I don't work hard. I go hard, right? But when I got Jade there working me out, today I could not walk.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I was just finished training this morning, and we have Fridays we do positional sparring, jiu-jitsu. I train at Axis. And I was just drenched in sweat, absolutely drenched. And my coach was like, what was that like today? I was like, look at me. What do you think it was like? And I was thinking at the end of it, there's no way if I was by myself working out at the gym, there is no way I would have pushed myself that hard. No way. Not to say there's not people out there who do, but even the people that do will still go harder with someone standing next to them.
Professional athletes, they got coaches. What does Tiger Woods got coaches, right? Because he can do, the coaches would see what he can't see, right?
Yeah.
and they will take him further. So for me, it doesn't make sense to me to do this thing without coaches in every area of my life. Like a flexibility coach, a massage person, a mentor, and a business coach, a personal coach. All those things, it just makes total sense for me. And I think, like we said, like, DIY, you could do that if you want to do so much, but if you're going to go big, you want to expand, what I like to do, then you need good people around you. You got to find good person too, because I've had coaches in the past, of course, right? You got to have mentors who actually, you don't want to go and do personal training with somebody who is overweight, right? And yes, I agree with people don't want to do that with that kind of people. But if you're looking for a coach and you search hard enough, it's just this thing called serendipity. I believe in it. People just come into your life. Yeah, it's just how it works.
Yeah, I think you and I could talk about that all day. I know I could, because it's my industry. But yeah, let's take a little sidestep here. Thinking forward to the future, what excites you about where the trajectory you're on and what's next for Najib?
Yeah. Once again, I've just been blessed to have doing things beyond just me, because I would have stopped now, or maybe 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, if it was just about putting zeros in the bank account, right? And I'm saying that with all humility. I've been blessed coming from nothing, and to be able to do things. And I've always, the good thing is, maybe I learned that from my father. He always would give things to people. So I suppose that's kind of ingrained in me, because when I built a house for my parents, right? I'm quite proud of, but they've got a bigger house than mine, right? So now, for real estate, like, yes, we've got an amazing company, we've got great people, we're helping people do great work. Now I wanna open that up for every agent to have the opportunity. We're not going to hire everybody, because that's not for me, it's not the numbers. It's never been the numbers. We're going to hire great people and give them the resources and the opportunity to scale their business, and then help them become complete individuals, because everybody's been led to believe you've got to work for money and the cars and the houses. The truth is, I think Matthew McCartney, I was talking to somebody this morning, like, I think he said, like, I wish we could give everybody millions of dollars and give them the cars, give them the houses, to find out that's not where the happiness is. So I want to teach people not just become successful in business, but I want to help them become so fulfilled in life by becoming a complete individual. I'm still work in progress. I'm not saying I'm complete, but what I'm saying, like, I've got a few things that I can pass on.
That might be a novel concept for some. Steve Hansen, or might have been Graham Henry actually, a few years back said, better people make better All Blacks.
Oh, I heard that someplace, yeah.
Meaning that if they can enhance somebody's mana or their balance as a human being, that translates into the way they perform on the field.
100%.
I'm curious about that, because it sounds like what you're saying is you're not just thinking about business as the way you play on a certain field. You're thinking about the business as this larger thing. This whole life thing. Tell me about how that works practically for you. What does that actually look like?
Life becomes way more fulfilling when the whole thing is balanced, right? If you're running on 4 wheels, it's good. When running on 3 wheels, all right, you might go a little bit, you do okay. When running on 2 wheels, just things become unbalanced, right? So what I believe in like, having this thing running on 4 wheels, being successful mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, in turn, emotional, financial takes care of itself. I say, like, I'm not, I think salespeople, if you give me a salesperson with a growth mindset, ambitious, humble, and being coachable, in 6 months' time, if that person listens, I think I'll show you the man who's going to go places, do amazing work. Because all I would work on is the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. Once those 4, we call it the 4 walls in Najib, the 4 walls, once we take care of the 4 walls, the roof takes care of itself. Now what happens is, like, people go and try and build the roof without the walls on them. Like, you just couldn't do it, could you?
So what are some of the things that you've done to build yourself up in those and level up in those areas?
Yeah.
Personally.
It's been years and years and years of growth, no question about that.
Yeah.
But as I said, like, there's a blueprint that I can suggest to people, and people can take it on board and build this beautiful life, as I call it. So for me is obviously my day's routine. So one of the things that we have is, like, I say, like, you got to take care of yourself before you can go serve anybody else. So my day every day is getting up, working on those 4 things. From the minute I wake up on my mind. So first thing when I wake up, I'll meditate for half an hour, 45 minutes. After meditation, I will read or whatever subject I'm studying at the time. And then I'll do hard exercises. So those are the things that I do to get myself right. And I've done a lot of studies and obviously about the human mind, how we've been brainwashed, we can brainwash it again, you can recondition it again. Yeah. So all those small things that I've done over the years, I suggest one of the most important things is be on your own for a little while, because when you're on your own, you go inside, because this digital world is taking things away from us, taking us elsewhere, rather than going inside and working on ourselves to grow. Because the only way to grow, the only way to become a better person, is not change the world, not to be on your phone all the time and get distracted, is to go inside, right? So I think going inside is where all the good things happen.
I imagine for some people it's a common thread amongst successful people that they have these patterns, these rhythms of life, if you will. And they obviously look different for different people. But I imagine for some people, they listen to that and go, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I can see that would, or imagine that might make me a better owner. Mm-hmm. What would you say to someone if they've maybe dabbled in it or thought about it, but they haven't thrown themselves into it? Where should they start?
I think having the discipline, because obviously we all have habits. And one of my heroes, Robin Sharma, says that when you're making a change, it's hard to start, messy in the middle, and it's beautiful at the end. So when you're making a change from bad habit, whatever the habit you might have, your habit might be to go home. When you go home, you still got your phone on you. You're not present with your wife and kids. So one of the habits maybe is like lock your car and your phone in the car. You don't bring it in. Or first thing you walk in, you plug it into your charger and then don't touch it till the next day. So those small habits, I think, if we start with those small things, and I assure you, you keep on doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, you'll be pleased you did, because it's otherwise you're on this thing called the rat race, and just it's you're not stable mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually, which means that over time nobody wants to be around you. Like who wants to be around somebody? Maybe your wife, if she's stuck with you, she might not be with you either for too long. If you, you know what I mean. So do it for their sake.
Yeah. What if some of those habits stacked over time? What kind of skills have they allowed you to build as far as the business goes?
My team would say that I'm like quite stable, and I wasn't like that always. So meditation, I think that's helped me do that. Because if you're a business owner, these problems, right? Somebody resigns, you have to tell somebody to leave. You have to, these short your cash or whatever it may be. These problems always, right? But it's helped me. With the meditation, it's helped me become more calmer. And getting my mind right. When I'm doing exercise, I've done hard exercise in the morning, I feel great for the rest of the day. Stoicism, what I'm into. So something happens. It's not something happens to you, it's something happened for you. Who knows, you might have hit the car here, but if you didn't crash here, you might have ran somebody over further down, or whatever it may be, right? So those things there made me realize that life is all a blessing all around.
Nice. And as an owner, what are some of the skills that you've come out of the box with? What do you think you naturally had a natural talent for, and what are some of the skills that you've really had to apply yourself to learn?
I think what I came with, I've been a saver, always been a saver. So from the minute we started the business, we had 30% away for tax, 20% for GST, and 15% for savings, or for income tax. So we've had saving. That would be one of the things. It's not how much money you make; it's how much money you save. Mm-hmm. That's one of the habits that I've had from the young age, because I had to save money to buy my own car, and I had to save to do things, because obviously, even though my parents were loving, they couldn't buy me a car. Mind you, Mum did pay me half of the car because I saved half of it, right? So I had to save. So saving that's one of the things that I'm good at, I suggest. I think I'm a problem solver. I've always been a problem solver. So you give me a problem, I'll come up with a solution. I've always thought if I put my mind to it, if I've got an idea, I'll find a way to do it. But then a whole lot of other things that I've acquired over the years. If it is like being a salesperson, you think about yourself more and think of other people's less, kind of thing, because like that's what salespeople mentally, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So I had to change that. I'm very high visionary and very low in detail, so I'm working on that still, because it frustrates my team in the office, some of the team members, when I think so big. Mm. So I have to think about that to adjust that every now and then. And as you see, like, we had a conversation about this yesterday. Like, as we grow, as we open offices, as the environment changes, the identity will change, the behavior will change, but we need to be conscious of, like, where we need to attend to as we as we grow. So I've had like, it's like leadership is what you're not born with. You learn, and that thing that I'm a learner. That's why, like, you're curious. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. I just like to know. It's like when I'm in a meeting, I want to know. I want to come out with, from that person, learn something. If I ask questions, if I'm talking about like I am now, I can't learn. But the only way to learn is just to ask the question and shut up.
Yeah, I like that. And when you think about the future and growing these offices, growing the brand, building agents and their businesses, what are some of the skills that you think you're going to need to pick up, work on, grow in the future? Because I think, just for context, I think this one thing that we don't do particularly well is A, talk about what we're good at, but B, talk about where we need to get better, especially as owners.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of things that I need to work on, no question about it. But as we're growing, we have the opportunity to have the right people and put them right things to complement my behaviors. There's some behaviors that we can adjust for sure, but there'll be other things that we can bring in a general manager or operational manager and have them doing what they're great at. It's like Steve Jobs said, like, bringing good people and let them do great work. So that would be something I like to have things. I'm quite attention to detail. I want things done
Particular way.
It needs to be perfect. But once I trust somebody, then I can step away. So I think for me to have people that I can trust around me, that I can step away and work on leadership, development, acquisition, and training, and even bring trainers in, so I can step away, even grow the company even further. So, yeah, I've got a list of things that I need to work on, a big list.
Yeah, and you mentioned that growth mindset earlier, and I it's something that, again, that's a nice thought when you understand that growth versus fixed mindset and the distinction between the two. Most people listen to that and go, "Oh yeah, I want to be in the growth mindset, not the fixed one." But practically, it's quite confronting, and that's something that you've really embraced in a big way. That looking in the mirror and seeing how you are, and then being open enough to, firstly open enough to look in the mirror, but then also to go away and execute and grow and develop and focus on some specific things, that deficiencies, areas where you need work on. Tell us a little bit about your mindset in that regard.
I think it's arrogant to think that you know it all, first of all. And number two, if you've got the growth mindset, then you look at what are your weaknesses, and yes, we all got strengths. And I still have a whole lot of weaknesses, and I've had a whole lot of weaknesses in the past. Like, so I'm improving all that, and I hope I'm a better person than I was yesterday. But I think if you want to go places, if you want to do well in this world, if you want to give things back, you got to have the humility to be able to say, you know what? I'm open for people who challenge me. Like, you know how we got some people like, you know, so defensive. Like, I find that like so sad. I feel sorry for people like, you know, when they're defensive, like they think they know it all. I think if you're the other way around, we can always improve. And if you improve, like, you know, you can do well. Like, you know, if you want to go further in life, you just got to adjust your behaviors, your problems, your things that you have. Because if we're not doing well, if you're not doing well in money, if you're not doing well in a relationship, if you're not doing well in business, if you're not selling enough houses, if you're not doing whatever, it's not out there, it's in here. So look in the mirror and improve, and your life will improve.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Succinct. I like it. So if you had to give some advice to owners, one thing that you've learned in this journey so far, and obviously there's a ways to go and some exciting things ahead, but just in this journey so far, if you had to summarize your journey and your learnings and the way you think in a couple of key points that someone could go away in action, what would that be?
Because I observe businesses, and I like to think that I like to look at my business every day and see where we can improve. I think one of the things that every business owner should think about, always think about, or not get into the business unless they've got that right, is this product or service serving somebody and making somebody else's life better, or making world a better place, or not? If it is, carry on and keep on doing it. If it isn't, adjust it, because surely there's these things in whatever, any business that I go to, these things that we can improve, we can make it better. So that would be one thing that I would suggest, and not just once, but think about it. Don't ever fall in love with your product or your service. Fall in love with the customers. Because as soon as you do that, then somebody comes in and wipes you out, just like taxi industry, just like the Blockbuster, just like our real estate industry, shortly. Because we fall in love with our product and our service rather than our customers.
It's great. Great starting point. Was there another one?
So the second one would be is to have yourself right and have that growth mindset. So when to do well in life or in business is have those four things right. Number one, because the finance will take care of itself. And the reason we open businesses is because obviously to have a nice life as well, right? It makes sense for most people. That wasn't the reason I started Najib Real Estate, by the way. But most people will want to open a business, and I can appreciate that. But if you got the four walls right, then you can do well in life, and then people around you would enjoy being around you as well. Your people that work for you, right? So those are two things that I would suggest for any business owner.
Nice. And let's quickly recap on what the four walls are as you teach them.
Yeah, so the four walls are mental. Like, you got to be stable mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And to do those things, like, as we discussed that, we got to go inside and work on improving ourselves. Because when we improve ourselves, we improve everybody around us. And when people like to be around us, of course, right, then the finances takes care of itself, right? You're not leaving a mess behind you as you're building, as you work in however many hours you're working. So you're stable, you're a good human being to be around, right? There's a lot of business owners that, like, they've done well in finance, the roof is there, but the family life is messed up because they haven't got themselves right emotionally or mentally. So I like to have, like, what I like to say, like, having a complete success.
Yeah, whole life success. Nice. Well, it was great to have you on the show, Nathan. It's been a pleasure, as always, and a lot of gems in that, for sure. So thank you once again.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.